at night. That's the basic problem.
Yeah.
Shots is an added problem, but that's not the reason for doing it.
Jim, you look very lonely down there.
That's what I told him. He didn't take a shower this morning. He said it was just the opposite. All the people on this end did.
Yeah, I came last. They were all down
okay.
there.
As long as you miss Semana Santa, you don't want that for your first.
This is gonna be good. I mean, down there.
Okay, you're welcome to come join us. We don't
We
bite.
could move a couple tables out.
It's
I think
like-
I think I smell okay. I took a shower.
It's like Fort Lauderdale or Daytona Beach. For
Everybody
there's a
shows
3-day period there that is just nuts.
Oh, wow.
But the kids love it, and it's really fun to walk it.
Yeah.
Are you talking about Semana Santa? It's coming up on us, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm driving back up on Easter Day, and I understand that's a good day. There's no traffic. Do you know anything about? No, you don't.
I think if you leave early, yes. If you leave late, no.
A good day to what, Ray?
Drive back up. I come down on New Year's Day sometimes, and it's fabulous. There's nobody on the road.
I've driven south on Easter and it was dead empty.
How was it?
Nobody on the road.
Yes.
Sneaking up on you.
And
I would
going
imagine that's the
But
case.
going north, I think it's the same. In the morning, I think it's very good, but
Yeah.
as you get later in the day, the worse it gets.
I just don't want the 3 hours at the border.
Oh, you just pushed the table
Get a
away.
Sentry Pass, that's easy.
Yeah.
He's a little closer.
He's a little
One
closer.
more table
He's
and
actually
he'll be
full
part of the
framed
group.
in the video now.
Uh-oh.
Post office getting that?
The post office?
Yeah, they are. I won't be around next week.
Why is that?
Because it'll match the picture on the wall.
Don't worry, Jim.
We'll bring you stuff. We'll split the reward.
I dare them to find us. Well, we should probably get started. It's a slightly smaller group than we typically have, which tells me that we're getting closer to Semana Santa. Again, I'm Scott Stimpson here almost every Tuesday. Sorry I missed last week. From International Computer Solutions. We have a computer shop here in town and want to help you guys with computer problems. If you have them, give us a call. And this is the San Carlos Computer Club. We meet every Tuesday from 9:15 to 10:15 to solve the world's tech problems. And I try and do my best to answer some questions for people. So, what do we got on the agenda for today? We are unorganized and unprepared. I'm speaking for myself in the we form because I'm bringing you along on my journey of not having topics.
I have a question.
Yes.
Is anybody here using LastPass? I think that's what it's called, right?
LastPass is correct. That is the name of it.
What is that?
It has got really good recommendations from tech people in the community. I've never actually done it myself, but people say good things about it. It's a master password. It's like a keychain of all your passwords. And it's available on your mobile devices, on your home computers, your tablets, your phones, and you sign in with one master password, and then it provides all the other passwords for your services.
So you don't even know what those other passwords are.
No.
Well, it's interesting you say that because
Yes.
they do have a system where you can generate really ridiculous passwords that you wouldn't be able to know. And it's all dependent on you using the LastPass system to put in the passwords for you. So if you did that with, say, a Hotmail account, if you didn't have LastPass, you wouldn't be getting into that Hotmail account because of the ridiculousness of the kind of password it can generate.
Which is the most common? Is it KeyPass or LastPass?
You know, I hear LastPass more often than KeyPass.
That's what I'm thinking. And there was a comparison I read about a month ago, and I was thinking of you, that LastPass is used a lot more. It does a lot more for you. KeyPass is harder to set up, but you totally maintain it rather than the server totally maintaining it. So it has a lot of advantages depending upon your view. If you want totally easy use, I think it was LastPass. If you want actually better security and better control of the passwords and ability to recover if something happens, like you forgot your master password, then KeyPass was a lot better.
Well,
How would that work for you, for example, if I gave you my computer to work on? You just have to know what my one password is?
well, yeah, that would open for lack of a better word, it would open the passwords of all the other services that you have configured with LastPass. So your
Like
email
a
you could get into,
bank.
and your bank account you could get into, and so that always leaves me a little dry, because I don't like the idea of somebody coming behind my shoulder and having access to those kinds of things. At the same time, it is encrypted. It's not that you're able to see it. It's not that they can glean that. But if they got your device, then until you dealt with that, that device would open up all your
So they
services.
could
Well-
actually get into my bank account, wouldn't they have to know my username?
Well, that's the point of LastPass, is that it knows the username, it knows the password. So you go to your bank and it signs you in. And the reason it signs you in is because you've already authorized
So
it with a
knowing the
master
master
password.
password
Would open all those
would
things.
open it. Oh,
Yeah.
that may not be a good idea.
There was one of them that continuously changed your passwords every time you used it. Which one was that?
I'm sorry, Chester, I know what you're talking about, but I don't remember
Yeah.
who was doing
There
it.
was one that did
Yeah, I mean, if you really wanted security, and I've listened to some security experts talking about those systems, where they're like, if you want true security, you'll adopt one of these systems. You never know what your password is. All you know is your master password, and it's generating the passwords for
You'd
you.
still have the same problem though, wouldn't you? Because once you had the master password,
Well.
it's still gonna open everything up for you.
Well, that's the point of the master password, is that yeah.
Maybe it's not a good idea.
Yeah, it depends. I've always fallen back on just a formula in my head for where I'm going and what I'm using to make up a password, but I forget passwords all the time now. I guess I'm getting old.
Well, I keep them coded, but if I start doing
Yeah.
weird things, I'd have to write them out.
Is there a fee for these
Somebody
things?
finds
Like
my
so much a
book.
month?
Yeah, it seems like LastPass has a free tier and a paid tier. And it does get kudos from security experts as being very secure.
And so when Google says, do you want me to save your password, you just say no at that point, right?
Well, what happens at that moment is LastPass grabs that interaction
Okay.
and it saves
Okay.
the password. It's
Okay.
constantly scanning your
Okay.
your web browsing for those fields
Okay.
and identifying that you're setting up an account, you're putting in passwords and usernames.
So as you're going into multiple websites, you have to go into LastPass for each one first, and then you go into XYZ website.
Well, again, I'm not a user of this, but the way I understand it is that it's running as an app, like a plug-in for your web browser.
Okay.
And so, as long as it's running, you have authorized it at some point. Either you've set it up so that when you start using it, it asks you for a password, or it automatically remembers the master password, so it's just ready to go. But your experience is you go to a website that needs a password, and LastPass signs you in.
I think some run as plugins to the web browsers and others as plugins to Windows, so that then if it runs under Windows, it can do something like the password for your Quicken.
That
Where
makes
if it's
sense.
running
yeah.
under the web browser, it can't.
If you're just using the web browser plugin, yeah, I bet you're correct on that. I just don't have that experience with the program. I haven't adopted to it. I know from what I've heard of security experts talking about this stuff, I should.
Yeah.
I know that I should stop trusting myself and trust more the technology to keep me secure in those respects.
So it doesn't handle username, because that's kind of a semi-password also, right? Username
Yeah.
and then password is on almost
I think
everything.
it does.
Yeah, it is being instead of you. And so instead of you actually going and typing that information in, this application is taking care of that portion of it. So you do have a username and you do have a password. Depending on the security that you set up with an application like that, you may have no idea what the password is.
So probably if somebody came into your computer while it was all turned on, they could get into anything they want.
That's right. And actually, you should just, regardless of, you shouldn't evaluate these services in that respect, even though I was talking about that earlier. Because truthfully, if anybody comes around to your computer when it's on, they've compromised your entire computer. So it doesn't matter whether you're running LastPass or not. They've got full, you decide not to use LastPass, they've still got such a ridiculous honeypot of personal information that they've compromised everything by having your computer. So I wouldn't use that as an evaluation benchmark.
And there are programs where you just plug in your little stick and it'll tell you every password on every app on the application within a minute.
That is very true. There is there is a
So-
stick out there now that will pull passwords out of your web browsers, and it'll set session cookies so that you can behave as though you're that account. That was some news that came up last month, I think, where they've built a thing the size of a USB flash drive, and the only protection against it is to turn the computer completely off, which is an unusual thing in a corporation. Normally, corporations, you leave the computers running because there's remote administration that has to happen, and so they have a lock screen that you put. You need a password to get past the lock screen. Well, these devices will go past that lock screen. It uses the presence of for example, a keyboard or a mouse, which has full administrative rights on the computer. And then they immediately turn into something else. The device, the USB device, virtually turns into something else. and
Yeah, I
starts
was even
recording
speaking of free
information.
programs you can download, they'll do it. So it's,
The other one now is RoboForm. It's not a paid anymore. You can pay to be a pro version, but there's no really big advantage to it. The free version now lasts forever. You can have as many passwords as you want. They used to restrict it.
What's it called?
RoboForms.
Robo.
It was the #1, and LastPass was #2.
Well, and what you're describing is real, except you need to get past that lock screen. And this is the first time that they've been able to create an exploit that doesn't need to get past the lock screen. It's
but they
able
have to plug it
That
in so
little
you can
device to
disable
get
plug and
past
play.
it.
No, it's because of what it identifies as. There's no way of administering it. It's an open protocol. I think it's keyboard. I think that's the one that
But they plug it, well, they attach.
they plug in a USB. The USB says I'm a
Well-
keyboard, and immediately they've got access to that
Disable
session
the
that's
plug
running.
and play, and then you're on that. Take care of it.
Yeah, I doubt that would work against this attack, simply because that wasn't a suggestion from the
business,
security
I think, you know, how
experts.
they do-
Yeah.
yeah.
In fact, when I got done with the article, it was kind of, this is the look that I had. Like, so what are we supposed to do against this attack? Nobody had an answer.
So why did they come up with this thing?
Well, to show the vulnerability, just like gray hackers do all the time, or white
Okay,
hat
so
hackers do all the time.
Because
It was
I
proof of
forgot
concept.
It was not because I forgot my password and I want to plug that in so I can get my password.
No, nothing like that. This was
Okay.
to compromise security. Yeah,
I have a
very
question.
very similar to the CIA stuff with the Vault 7 stuff, where you know, we talked about that the week before last, where the Samsung TVs they're able to compromise them and turn them into microphones, right? And so you could, in fact, part of the hack was that it would look like the TV was turned off. Since then, we haven't talked in 2 weeks, but I talked with a few people about this whole idea, and I have completely forgotten, and some of you guys probably know this, that the sound cards that we use now are completely programmable controllers. The only thing that makes a microphone out, or a microphone in, is software. It's not a physical cable inside. It's a processor hooked to a bunch of ports, and software determines whether sound's coming out of that port or it's being used as a microphone. Anybody that's looked at their Realtek HD audio card will see it, recognize when you plug into any one of these ports, and you can associate services with each one of those ports. And that kind of manipulation at the hardware level means it's very doable to turn.
No,
I'm nervous with that one.
Scared him.
boy, that man.
Sorry, now that's from a man that owns all Samsung TVs. So it's very conceivable that they could turn your speakers into a microphone.
Woke me up.
Well, they did they not? Isn't that one of the things they
The discussion we had about 2 weeks ago was, does this apply to all Samsungs, or does this apply? This is my thinking, at least. Is this only doable on these Samsungs that have cameras? Is this
The
only
smart
doable?
TVs.
Yeah, the smart. They say smart TVs, but I own a Samsung smart TV. It does not have a webcam. It doesn't have a microphone.
I can't find the camera.
But what I'm discussing now, after spending some time looking into this, is they don't need a microphone, because if their hack is sophisticated enough, they can just tell the sound card that is a microphone instead of a speaker, and use the speaker as the microphone.
Not much difference between the two.
Right, yeah, at a technical level, they're almost the same component. You only design them differently for quality. You want better input audio, a better output audio. That's why we have a speaker that's got a flare that can push air. But yeah, so that was interesting. And then people started talking about how, well, this exploit can't be done without putting a USB in the TV. So this may not be as concerning to general folks as you would think. These would have to be people that are being investigated. They'd have to have physical access to the TV set. So this would be like your drug cartel, and they want to they want to spy on you. So they'd sneak into your house, and instead of planting a bug, they would plant this software in the TV set, and that would become the bug. So there's no bug to find. It's just the TV set. And I thought, well, that's a little less disconcerting if that's the extent of this, if that's the scope. It's not coming across the internet, but they need physical access to it. And then I screwed myself out, and I watched Edward Snowden talking to a hacker conference, and what he emphasized was, you don't understand how often the CIA is at a distribution center, like an Amazon warehouse, going after some particular order to open the box, stick the USB into it, hack the TV set, repackage the box, and have it go along its way.
I have visions of some guy in China seeing my 2 feet like this. Yes, I'm laying there watching my new Samsung smart TV.
Right. God. So I'm all twisted up about the topic. I don't know how I feel anymore about it.
Well, your Samsung TV then can heat your coffee, right?
It hasn't yet.
Wait.
I have a question.
Okay, Bob. Go right ahead.
This is interesting as far as people are concerned here in San Carlos. I would like to know if there is some kind of a device that can be hooked up to a pump, a 5-horsepower pump, that pumps water to the top of the caracol, to the tank up there, and so that when the tank up above has no water in it, it will turn off the pump down below so that
Yeah, they have that.
$5,000 pump doesn't burn up.
Yeah, they have that.
Now,
Yeah.
I also would like to know if there is some kind of a device that could be programmed to somebody that was responsible that would turn the switch off if they were notified. In other words, if there's no water, low level floats. The low level float shows that there's no water in the tank, so that you want to turn off the pumps. I would think that there's some way that you could have either a computer or a radio or something like that.
Don't you have 24-hour guards there?
Yeah,
24-hour what?
right.
But the guards don't do anything with the water, and one of the problems we have is dealing with CEA, and we don't know whether CEA doesn't like automated systems, but we know that they want to protect their jobs. Okay?
Well, that's why they
But
keep patching.
I suspect that there's somebody at CEA that is high-tech now.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
don't know that.
Well, a normal Tanaka has a float switch, so there's your on-off. Very easy to transmit it on-off.
A sophisticated solution might be if you're talking about pumping from one tank to another tank,
Right,
right? When it's low, you want the pump to turn off.
right.
So you could use an Arduino controller. And
what?
An Arduino controller, one of those controllers I brought in last year.
Yeah.
You could use something like that to tell you that the pump is closed. You plug it into a Raspberry Pi or even just like a Windows computer. But Raspberry Pi would be a little tiny box. And as long as there's Wi-Fi access within that, where that pump is, that would be the big deal, because you'd want to get it on the network so it can be told to turn itself off. Does the message to turn it off have to come from at the top of the hill or just at the bottom of the hill?
Okay, at the bottom of the hill, there's a tank,
Right?
and there's a pump.
Message from
The
the
water
top.
comes in there, and then it's supposed to be pumped up to the top, to the tank.
Okay.
And when the tank at the top, which also has a pump
Right.
to give people
Right.
pressure, when the tank is at the top, the water goes down and it empties, then the pump on the top burns out.
Right. Right.
$5,000 US dollars.
Yeah.
Okay? And
It sounds like you don't need to make it too sophisticated.
No,
You
as I
just
say,
do the
you know, you-
floater on both
I have that
tanks.
on my Tanaka.
Yeah.
yeah,
My water goes down.
Yeah.
There's a float that shuts the pump off.
right.
Yeah.
It's a low level.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
Running
110
from tank to
volts. You're
tank.
probably looking at.
Well, in this case,
three-
would it matter?
three
Because it would just
phases,
be,
and that's-
it would be the same kind of control on one tank that you'd want on the other tank. They don't actually have to know about each other.
Yeah.
It's just don't pump water if there's no water.
So that's true.
The other part of the solution out of the box is just, okay,
Yeah.
a float switch is very simple. It's at the top. You could have it activate some obnoxious alarm, and you'd hear it, and people would start doing it.
Oh, the Caracol love
There
it.
You know.
you go, yeah. That would be
You're
a
talking
favorite.
probably $10, you know, total.
Somebody's already using it.
Well, the reason I ask you
Mm-hmm.
is because
It's the
you had
communication.
problems in the Ranchitos with leaks in water, okay?
Yes, still
And
do.
you talked with people at CEA.
Yeah, well, I outed them on Facebook.
Tanaka's empty. It
Right.
I took pictures of the puddles of water out on my road that had been there for weeks, and I posted them to their Facebook page, and they immediately got on
No, you
fixing
said
them.
that Facebook didn't do anything, and you Twittered, and all of a sudden in Hermosillo that's what I remember you
That was
saying.
another-
No, I mean I might have used Twitter because my Twitter feed goes to Facebook, but I specifically did it to their Facebook page, and it was here locally that they did something. I don't know who was answering me, but they'd answered. And we tried it a lot that summer. That was just last spring, and it worked for a while. And then people started doing it all the time, and then they just got lost in the noise. It was really frustrating how effective it was, and then it wasn't because there's so many problems to report. They were able to ignore those as easily as before. It was embarrassing to them. They couldn't have that on the internet. Well, when they went above like 100 reports on their page, then I mean,
Nobody cares.
yeah, what does it matter? It's obviously a broken organization.
They need competition.
Okay,
Boy, do
Okay.
they.
so
Well,
it's possible to do this.
Yeah, well, what you're describing sounds to me just like Chester has said, or like
Yeah.
what I've got set up in my place is a float valve that just shuts off the pump, and you just need it on both tanks. And they don't even have to know about each other. They don't have to be smart enough to know about each other.
Well, they do know about it, and someone removed the low water float. That's what happened.
That's what happened. Yeah.
Well, we can't fix that. We can't. You can't fix stupid.
Yeah, but you can't say to the Mexicans you're stupid. You know, somehow or other. That's why I was wondering if you had any experience with them, because this could affect everybody in the whole San Carlos community.
Yeah.
Because there's the tank that is at the top of the Caracol is similar to some other tanks out where Jim is. Jim, you have a tank out there, don't you?
Yeah. I have the floats just like Scott does, one on the bottom, one on the top, and I also have a wire between the two tanks where the top tank can tell the bottom tank to shut off. Also.
To turn off the what? Oh, because it's pumping up to the.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
Because it
yeah.
overflows.
It overflows. Yeah.
So that's why the tanks are connected. On mine, when you said that, I was thinking about it. Yeah, mine has the top tank has two floats in it.
Okay.
One that stops it when it's empty, or tells it to start, and one that when it's full, it turns off the pump down below.
Yeah, because it seems like we've got something that turns off the flow from the street when it fills up. Yeah, like a toilet.
Right,
Yeah, it's a
but
toilet
it's-
reservoir. So
My
it's
tank's up the top of the hill. It turns off the water at the street, but if that tank's still pumping to the top tank and that tank's full, it just keeps
it just
pumping
keeps
until
running.
it's.
Well, it's interesting. My neighbor used to have that problem all the time. I would come out of my home office and it'd be raining next door, and water just flowing out.
Okay,
Like,
so that's what happens.
dude, what are you doing? We live in the desert.
That's what happens in the Caracol, is it overflows and goes down into one of the houses. Okay, so my question to you right now then is, now that we know it's possible to take care of this, is there anybody at CEA that deals with electronic stuff?
Oh, good luck.
Why would
Just
you?
call
What
no,
is worth it?
It's not their
Somebody
responsibility.
outside. It's going into a pump, no different than Jim's is going into Tanaco or
Yeah.
Chester's is going to Tanaco. It's the vessel is just different. This is not hard technology. You just need either Big Don or you need a.
Yeah, that's what I was just gonna say. Big Don would be
Big
the
Don, yeah.
best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, you're dealing with an organization that sends people out with bicycle tubes to fix leaks in the road. So it's hard to imagine you're going to find somebody that's going to come up with a sophisticated solution to that problem. I bet it's a Caracol problem. I mean, whether it's fair that it is or not is a whole different debate. But if you really want to fix it, it's a Caracol problem. It's not a SEA
Well,
problem.
that is, you're right about that. I'm not gonna go into it because I don't wanna put you people down, but you're right. There's about 10 people that are turning switches off and on. And you're right about that.
Call the people that are installing the new water meters, they'll fix it for you.
Oh.
Yeah, right.
The new water meters. My Yuya was frustrated to come home and find them changing our water meter. I think was it you that told me that you had taken out your water meter? And I'm like, hey, I don't understand why this was my position with my wife. I don't understand why we should feel like we have any control over it. It's the water company.
Right.
The meters outside of our property. It's the way they keep track of us. Why is it okay to complain and get angry at them? And she said, because they do a lousy job. And they're going to leave me with a problem. And I'm like, well, okay. I mean, that's true, and we'd have to hold them to that.
Expensive job.
The next
my
day,
case.
I'm driving my kids to school. We're going down the road to Loma del Mar, right there by the Tecate, and sure enough, there's a river of water going down the street, and it's one of these, and it's all coming out of this brand new installed meter. You can see it just squirting out of this, and you could see it for 3 more days doing the same thing.
I had the Trevi Fountain, 10 o'clock at night. Yeah.
About a month and a half
Part of
ago,
the
they
reason
came
I
up
get so
with a new
mad
meter
is
on our
because
house and our
the
neighbor's
CEA
house.
made them pay for the last
They
meters.
work.
Right? Yeah. No, we had to buy our last meter too.
My
Yeah.
copper.
Yeah.
So you
Copper
just
out
paid
there.
for your
They tried
meter,
to take
now they're
it.
replacing the meter.
Yeah, but it's still
Right.
Well, the
Brass
meters,
meter, you know,
there
they
are
made me
people
buy
that
it
are,
a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
Ray, there's people that are not allowing the old meters to be removed, like
If you're
Delphine.
home and you can.
No, if you're home, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, at Delphine Restaurant, the consignment store right behind, there's a Mexican lady that operates that little store.
Mm-hmm.
And they came around to change the meter, and she said, no, you're not changing the meter. And they did not.
Well, that's exactly
saw
what
them-
Yuya was frustrated about. That's exactly what she wanted to do and
Well, the
was
just-
not given the opportunity to.
The
Exactly.
justification for the new meters is to be able to up the rate for the water.
Well, they
The
came
pressure.
by my house about a
No,
week
no.
ago.
No.
In other words, if they spend some money for you, then they can,
Oh, I hear what you're
Charge you.
saying.
Except
Yeah,
that
they can
a
justify
year and a half
raising our
ago,
water
or whatever
rates.
it was, they went through, how many of us had to buy
you're
new
supposed to go up
brass
again.
meters?
right.
Right.
So we're gonna get new meters every year, huh?
That's right.
Well, I
And
caught
still
them.
nobody's
Yeah.
paying for the river of water that's going down the road to Loma del Mar.
Oh, we will.
Oh, you will.
We will.
Well, I read all these stories online, and I heard about a month and a half ago, we had our meter was replaced, it was leaking. And I
Okay.
went over to the water company, they came and they replaced it free, put a brand new one on, I didn't have to buy this one this time. And the guy that did it did an excellent job. about a week ago, I hear these voices outside my gate and open the gate, and there are 5 men standing there with boxes full of meters. They're getting ready to change my meter. And I said, no. And they said, well, they read the number on the meter and they said my husband's name and they said, you need a new meter. I said, that is a new meter. Don't touch it. Well, then let us change your pipes. I said, don't touch anything. Okay, we'll do your neighbor. No, don't touch it. And I wouldn't let them touch anything. I said, I'll go talk to Yahita Monday. I never did, but they went around the rest of the neighborhood where people weren't home and changed them. But I don't know.
They nab you. If the car's gone, they're there.
And my husband was in Tucson. He said, you go out there every morning and see if they took the pipes or changed the meter. They never came
I
back.
swear there's a restrictor in ours, but the
So
news
far,
area, I really think
Well-
our neighborhood.
They had
does
orders
it.
from Mexico City.
Well, they're
Where I leak, it
contractors
works,
first. They
leaks
don't work for
Right,
the
they
city.
don't. Right, that's right. They're individual. They're independent contractors or construction business or whatever. But they've been hired outside of SEA to.
Yeah, that's who they
Do
were.
all of you know
I
that
think that
Scott works for the water company? And
Well,
he is,
screw him.
and he is,
What?
with those cameras, he's sending messages to the water company right now.
You know, I live in the ranchitos where we get water to our property twice a day. Right?
If we don't have any computer business, I have
Really?
ours with DirecTV.
Okay. Well, about the only thing I've got on my topic list was the compromised Smart-Vibrator. Did you guys hear about that?
What? The what?
Smoke vibrator.
You didn't hear about
Got our
the?
attention.
Oh, yeah. I saw that.
I said it
No.
too. Yeah, I saw it
You heard
about 2 weeks
about,
ago.
a couple weeks ago, yeah.
Gotta tell.
So yeah, apparently this company that's been making mobile-enabled vibrators for her pleasure, right? They had a data breach, and so 300,000 people's personal information has gotten out there. Apparently the company encourages you to attach your vibrator to your phone, so that you can. I'm just bringing it up because it's a funny topic. I really don't have a lot of information.
Okay.
But apparently they can track things like how often, on and off,
Intensity.
what wine you bought at Amazon earlier.
How about a computer question?
Oh my God.
Actually, I just used mine for lower back pain.
What this really it's a really good example of more of these Internet of Things being. They have no security. They've run these products out and they haven't shook them out.
Have your website down?
How do you spell that?
What there is in the community is a push for a security standard with the Internet of Things, so that we have like a federal mandate of what kind of security criteria a new product would have to meet before it was allowed to come to market.
Did you read Consumers Reports? Right up on that?
No, I
They're
didn't.
sponsoring the standard that they're hoping everyone's going to adopt to.
Oh, Consumer Reports is the ones
Consumer
that put it
Reports
together?
is really getting into computer security.
So soon it will be safe to use your vibrator and your phone.
Right.
In front of your Samsung.
In front of your Samsung.
Oh, the feet.
Okay. Well, I had a question.
All right,
here.
what's your question? What do you got?
Well, I want to switch VPNs because I want one based in Denver because I like listening to local news and stuff.
Okay.
So has anyone used a couple VPNs that I'm considering? One is private internet access.
Excellent.
Excellent. I've heard that. And also Nord VPN.
I'm not familiar with that one.
Nord seems to be very good. They've got like 15 servers in Denver, over 3,000 worldwide. You know, and seems to be, one of the leading.
NORAD?
NORD, Nord VPN.
NORD.
I was just wondering if anyone's tried some of these down here.
Why is it important to have a Denver,
I like listening to Denver news.
why can't you get that from I just don't know, why can't you get it from a Phoenix VPN or Phoenix service?
Because things like CBS All
Back
Access, for
online.
instance, is one that does that. Another one is the local Denver channel can do some stuff. It's an independent channel. that's much harder to work with if you're at another location.
I didn't know my VPN was able to give me anything from, like say I chose Austin, Texas. I didn't know I could get anything from Austin, Texas. That's just the city that has my VPN.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
then if the provider you're using is picking up your local, like CBS All Access is a very simple one. They do deliberately.
Have you tried the new VPN Marijuana 1000?
Nah, I haven't know.
You haven't?
Well, see, another reason is football.
Wait.
Okay,
Oh,
CBS broadcasts locally my Denver games.
Yeah.
My
Yeah, but that's a
provider
really
in
good
San
reason to do
Francisco
it.
provides the San Francisco games. which
Not
I
that
don't
I'm a
care
football
about.
fan, but that's technically that's a perfect example of why you'd want to do it. The examples I was thinking of why you'd want to do it would be the UK and Canada. Canada has CBC, I think it is. And they have a free app on their broadcast station that allows you to watch everything that they broadcast as TV on your computer or on devices like a Roku that supports the app. But you have to be in Canada to watch it for free. It's not even it's not even available for purchase outside of Canada. And the BBC is the same way. The BBC has an iPlayer app on their website, and you can watch all the BBC content, but you have to be in the UK. It is not available outside the UK. So these are both good reasons, and your Denver local football games is another good example of why it would matter to you where your VPN goes. Mike?
I don't understand how, I think I have Hide My Ass, which I think is what you have, isn't it? And so, you get Austin, you can get LA, you can get Phoenix, you can get lots of places.
I have Cloak Box.
Pardon?
Cloak Box.
Oh, Cloak Box, okay. But when I go on Comcast to watch, they'll let me in because I'm in the States.
Okay.
But then when I click on a show, they'll say it can only be watched from home. So I don't understand how that fits in with what he's talking about here with
I don't either. I don't get it.
I'm not sure why it would tell you that if it
They
thinks
know you're
you're
not home. And so you
Oh,
watch something.
you know what? Comcast.
You can't watch it on CBS. Like I'll tell you, the perfect one was the NCAA game yesterday. It was dying on mock.
I know
So
I know
went
exactly
online.
what you're talking about, because this was a point of contingence when they started doing this. Is you're absolutely right. You could use it to watch it on a tablet sitting on the can, but you can't take that tablet out of your home network.
Yeah.
Because and the exception might be if Comcast was providing internet wherever else that you were connected.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
Yeah,
But
if
what I'm
you-
thinking, can I use something like what this gentleman was talking about and pretend I'm in my house?
Not with Comcast, I'm imagining.
No, but I mean with a VPN.
Oh, I hear what you're saying. Yeah, like you could make a VPN to your house.
I can.
Well, you could have VPN points here and there. You'd keep your internet connection on over there. You'd connect over there. It'd be your VPN. It would be Mike's VPN. It wouldn't be Strong VPN or Hide My Ass or Ytopia. It would be Mike's home VPN. Right?
So wherever you are.
Well, that's tunneling.
Yeah, that's right. You just tunnel to your house on a VPN, and then from there you do your activities, and as far as anything was concerned, it was coming out of your house.
Okay, in my case, I've got my TV hardwired to my Wachovia
Cloak Box.
The Cloak
Cloak
box
box.
device, yeah.
You're saying I can get Austin, Texas local stations there?
Depends on what the station's doing.
What you can get are things that are intended only for that local area. That they use technical devices to block access outside of that local area. And that's why the football example is a perfect example, because they are not supposed to broadcast their games globally. But locally, because you can watch them on local TV, they're allowed to broadcast them on the website. So if you live in that area, you will have access to that website. But if you're outside of that area, then it's blocked. Do you follow where I'm going with that?
No, I still don't know how I hook up how I tell my TV to go to the VPN and watch something.
Well, no, you're already on the VPN. Say it's in Austin, Texas. Your smart TV has a web browser. You could go to that web browser and you could go to I don't know. I don't. I'm sorry. I don't follow
CBS.
football.
It'd
I
be
don't.
CBS and
Would it be
Austin,
CBS?
Texas.
I
Any of the news, the main
Yeah.
I
channels.
didn't know. I'm glad to know it. I can go to Austin and maybe watch Broncos. And
Yeah.
Right.
I couldn't get them locally.
That's right.
Right.
And you wouldn't be able to get them. Yeah, you wouldn't be able to get them here because you're not in that area. But you wouldn't be able to get them anywhere except in that area, and that's the reason for the VPN.
The other example on football is most of these services have quite a few locations, and so you could switch the location if you wanted to pick up a football game of your home team playing out of their home stadium at
You
another
go to away,
location.
wherever they're playing away, you go that time.
The way
Right.
I work that is, first
All-
of all, I have DirecTV NFL.
Yeah.
Okay,
but
well, that's
and also I have Tucson. So sometimes it'll be blocked out on the NFL because it's on Tucson.
mhm.
And I can then go to Tucson and pick it up, except when I'm traveling. And if I'm traveling, then I gotta rely on New York or Los Angeles to pick it up. But if I could go to Austin, Texas, that'd be another source.
Actually, the mock Roku does that too. They don't block any games out. Like they had the Super Bowl on 4 or 5 different channels, so
Oh, yeah.
they're never blocked out.
Well, it's the NFL package that blocks it out.
Well, but mock has that whole package. I've never seen anything blocked out of there. Yeah.
You wanna hear my horror story?
Yes, yes. Let's hear your horror story.
Well, this is kind of a shaggy dog story, but I had decided that I wanted to get ultra high definition since I have smart TV, Samsung. And so,
You mean that one that's listening to you?
So I called DirecTV and I have a Genie, but I don't have the Genie that'll pick up ultra high definition. I have an HR44 and you have to have an HR54. So when I'm in the States in the RV, then I call up DirecTV and oh yeah, we'll send you an HR54 and you can then ship us back the 44. So they did. They shipped it to me. And of course, it was not the 54. It was the 44. And so they said, well, take it to any FedEx store, and they'll ship it back to us free.
Yeah.
I did, and they didn't. So then I called back DirecTV, and they said, well, we'll have a technician come to your motorhome. You can't get the HR54 without a technician. So I said, okay, let's have him come. And he did. He came, and nice guy. All he did was take one box and plug 2 things in it. And so I said, well, okay, now you take. I've got this extra HR44. Why don't you take it? And he says, well, I'll check with you. So a day later, he calls back. He says, I can't take it. He says, you'll have to ship it back. So I called, there's hours and hours on the phone with
Jeez.
TV trying to figure out how to get this goddamn thing back to him.
Free shipping again?
Free shipping, but I can't, but then they want to ship me a return label.
Right.
But I'm in an RV, so, and I'm leaving. And so I said, well, okay, send the return label to a friend's house in Queen Creek. Yeah, we'll do that. But then that has to become your permanent address. I said, all right. Well, guess what? The label never came. And so I finally just paid $25 to ship it back. It was hours and hours. And I had 3 different instructions how to get rid of this wrong HR44.
Wait till you get
Wow.
the bill, $500 for the equipment that you haven't returned.
Well, I've got it all documented, so.
That's weird, 'cause my box went out, I called them, they said, we'll send you one right away. And so I said, well, do I need to send the box, the old one back to you? And they said, no, just
Nah.
a card,
We don't care.
Just
Just a
the
card.
card.
I did that as a.
that's all. And so, and they sent me, kind of a little envelope type thing to put the card in and send it back to them. It wasn't any problem. But the box itself, they said just get rid of it.
Yeah, well, this was a new box.
Yeah.
It was a new refurbished box.
Yeah.
Which was some, value to them. Didn't matter to me, but I didn't want to get stuck with it.
You were much more patient than I would have been. I would have said, come get it.
I wouldn't have done that except I'm leaving, so there's no place
If
to
you
come
can
get
find
it.
it.
It'll be available.
Leave it out in front.
Scott, what's new happening with the Maquilas?
Well, I don't have anything to report new as far as that goes.
Okay, then how's Jim's solar system working?
Working. It was
Is it?
$7 on the last bill.
How much?
$7.
$7.
Well,
I
it was
need
a
that
little
system.
more, but it was, being I had 2 meters, 1 meter's not there anymore, so it had time on it before we turned on the solar. So I paid for that, which was 200 pesos or whatever it was. The solar meter, the one that's live and active, was $7 US, is what it costs. I think
What's your
148 or
payback again?
something like that. What?
What do you figure your payback is, time-wise?
Every time CFD raises their rates, it goes up.
I-
Or it
I
comes
know.
closer, but about 7-8 years.
Yeah,
And
I'd
it
be
looks
too
like
old
they're
to
gonna
have
raise
one.
their rates again here in the next little bit.
I'd never have payout. I'd die before then.
And what's the future replacement? You don't have batteries, right?
No batteries. CFE banks your power for 1 year.
Yeah, but what hardware-wise do you feel that you have to replace at some point? Anything?
Nothing. The inverter, maybe. A panel, maybe. I mean, it has a 10-year warranty on everything, I believe it was.
That's cool.
So it'll be paid for by the time something goes out.
Are they secured to the house so that a hurricane doesn't lift them out, carry them away?
Yeah, they're
No, he just said
roof rack welded together and then bolted into the, whatever that upright thing is on your roof, the name they call it, and the roof. It's bolted into both of that. The panels are bolted to the rack.
Those panels could just act like an airplane wing and just float away.
I doubt it.
Oh.
Are you here full-time?
I'm sorry?
Are you here full-time?
Yes.
Okay.
That and it's a 2-story house way in the back.
And how many panels do you have about?
20.
20?
20. It's
How
a
big
6,000
are
watt unit, 6K.
What's the size? of the
What size is each panel approximately?
What's the what?
The size of each panel?
About 2 tables.
2 tables? So you cover a big roof. You cover a good part of your roof.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then two places, 'cause we have a dome
So it
in
would
the
make
house,
more
so we had to put it on
sense-
one side and the other side of the dome.
It would make more sense for a full year than somebody who's here for a few months.
Not necessarily.
Well, your
Well,
cost, your hardware costs exactly the same whether you're here full-time or not.
But you get the advantage of collecting a credit for
Yeah.
the summer months that you're not here using the electricity.
And it would be cheaper, is what a lot of people don't realize.
Mhm.
What they do is they take your year bills
Okay?
and, you're using this many kilowatts a year. Well, if you're not here 6 months, you're using a whole lot less kilowatts. So therefore, your panels, you don't need as many. You need a smaller inverter to come out at 0 or on basic,
Because you're banking it.
because you're banking it. And when you're not here, your house is running Cyberco alarm and your refrigerator and your freezer, basically, and that's about it, unless your security lights come on and off. And so you're banking all day long,
And you can bank up to a year.
up to a year, and they hold it for you. And it's set up to use your power before CFE's power. So during the day, like now, we're sucking off our power
Sure.
before CFE's power.
Is it a fiscal year, or do they go from the date of installation?
It goes from the date of
Certification.
certification.
So from January to January, and from March to March, not
So
a
if you
physical
can't-
year.
If you can't pull the full power off of your panel, let's say you did half of the panels and you're pulling more power, it's pulling from both.
I'm sorry, no?
So let's say you only put half the panels up.
Okay,
And-
so I'm generating 3,000 watts.
Okay, and your house is utilizing 4,000. So
Okay,
you're pulling the first 3,000
From
and
your-
simultaneously you're pulling 1,000
right,
from CFE.
yes. But then on the days you're not there, like if you're gone for 6 months, you're generating that all day long.
Right.
What you want to do is size it so that you just take off the top tier of their rates. Not all of it, but the top tier,
I
right?
disagree. I want it basic. That's why my charge for the $7 was a meter charge.
Yeah.
And what I'm getting at is, that's now, this is winter. During the summer, I'm gonna turn on my air conditioners and should stay at basic. And then in probably 2-3 months, I'm gonna take out my old air conditioner, which is 12 years old, 13 years old, because it was in when the house was built, and put in a new inverter air conditioner. And once that inverter goes in, I'm tying the pool into my system. So I had 3 meters, now I have 2. The pool is separate. I'm gonna tie the pool in, and I'll still stay at basic. And not have to worry about anything.
Well, I'm just thinking you might shorten your payout period if you just knock off the top tiers, the higher rates usage. That's just a thought.
Well, it's gonna shorten it a little. If you knock it all, well, it depends how many panels you put in.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm talking about payout.
Sure. Right.
And no more
That's,
panels.
for me, that's what it's all about. What's the return on your investment?
It all depends on how much you wanna generate. I don't wanna have a bill, basically, just basic.
Then basically his payout would be longer.
Right. But it still should be like 8 years before they raise their rates, or this last rate hike put me at 8 years roughly. They're gonna raise their rates again in the next month or so, supposedly, which is gonna lower me down more. Power's not gonna get cheaper. So,
Probably not.
what I did is just wait until I felt comfortable spending the money. You know, everybody's got their little honey hole spot. I've been looking at solar I've been here 10 years, I've been looking at it for 9 or 8
Yeah, in
every
Hawaii,
year,
what
and
they're
it finally
starting
hit
to do-
what I wanted to spend.
In Hawaii, what they're starting to do is reduce what they're banking. They're not allowing
Yeah.
the same banking situation, but that's a long term, that's a long.
Well,
time away.
who was it? Somebody that was in here a couple weeks ago telling us that in
Arizona.
New Mexico,
Arizona.
was it Arizona?
Yeah.
where they won't allow you to bank it.
No, they're getting mad because they're not getting any money.
Well, they
Yeah,
gotta pay
they're
for the
changing it in the
infrastructure.
United
They're a long
States.
way away from that in San Carlos, and around here, there's not gonna be the same number of people.
And there's also some of them that are banking it at wholesale and selling it back to your retail.
Right.
Jim, in Mexico, solar industry is not subsidized.
I'm sorry now?
Is the solar industry subsidized like it is in the United States?
I don't know.
No.
Tax credits.
Oh, all right.
Never heard about it.
Well, who pays income?
Yeah, I'm not
Yeah, I was
familiar
gonna
with
say, you're
it.
paying
How
income
would it be
taxes here?
subsidized?
Hmm?
Are you paying income taxes here?
No.
Then you wouldn't be subsidized.
It sure wouldn't surprise me though the way Mexico works if there wasn't solar programs out there that you could be part of. Like maybe there's an extension to the Infonavid program, something like that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean they've got so many social programs out there. I wouldn't be surprised if there was something because the electric company is federal, and so what I always imagine when we talk about this is I imagine the federal government mandating that these small communities where you've got all these cookie cutter houses,
Yeah.
they mandate that each house has to have solar panels so that what that becomes is a power plant for the city. And saying you still have to pay, I mean, this is what I imagine, you still have to pay for electricity, but because it's a government-owned home, they can put a solar panel on it and start providing electricity.
Now, Mexico's gonna start buying the power back from you also. The bill passed, they're just waiting for it to get enacted, so supposedly.
So as a way to make money, you could provide electricity.
Yes, if you don't use everything, well, it's gonna be like it was in the States, 50 cents on a dollar
Sure.
probably.
Right.
But they're gonna start buying it back from you after your year's up.
Well,
You know-
that's the thing I was saying, they buy it at wholesale and sell it to somebody else at retail.
Yeah. Well, they do that with your power anyway. As soon as you generate too much, everything that you generate back into the grid, they're selling,
At retail.
I'm selling to him, or CFE's selling to him.
Yeah.
And then they owe me, I generated 20 kilowatts extra, they owe me 20 kilowatts. It's traded kilowatt per kilowatt, not dollar for dollar.
Yeah, but in the States, I think that's different.
Well,
Otherwise,
they're-
they take it from you at wholesale and sell it at retail.
Yeah,
The spread I read was something like between 3 and 11 cents or something like that. And so it's probably gonna end up somewhere in the middle, or, you know, it'll be hammered out and just figured out what the middle number.
Yeah, in Mexico, it's watt for watt, where not peso for peso.
The, speaking of San Carlos and Arizona.
Watts are probably more stable than pesos.
There are 2 really good half-hour shows on the Arizona Week on the Tucson PBS station. It was they were highlighted yesterday in San Carlos, and the first one was on the 24th of March, and that was Hermosillo and manufacturing mostly. The second one was on San Carlos and Guaymas,
Oh.
tourism and manufacturing and farming.
Yeah.
The links
They were
are on
both
Viva
really
San Carlos,
good.
right?
What's
Yeah.
that?
The links are on Viva San Carlos, right?
I don't know if the link, well, yeah, there's one.
Yeah, there's-
One's there, and then you can find the other one easily once you get there.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Really good shows. Yeah, really good.
I meant to check it out. It's like a half-hour program on
It's
San
fast.
Carlos.
27 minutes each.
actually, that's the first part of 2. There's another one on Tucson or Phoenix. There's the second part of that.
Oh, okay, fine.
It was also very contemporary.
I'm sorry?
It was very
Yeah.
contemporary. They had some comments in there that only happened the last few weeks.
Yeah,
Very
yeah,
contemporary.
yeah.
Well, the reason on solar, back to the solar just for a second, the reason that solar panels have been so high priced is because they're subsidized in the United States. I was gonna make a solar panel myself, and to make a solar panel is not that expensive.
No, China's doing a good job of it. That's where they're all coming from now.
Is that right?
Asia, yeah.
Is that where yours came from?
Yep.
Really?
That's been that way for about 5 years now.
I'm sorry?
That's been like that for about 5 years now.
Yeah, but the prices just dropped
Huge,
on them.
huge.
And I would imagine the installation cost in Mexico is cheaper as well.
Well, yeah, they pay less labor. The panels came from Hermosillo is the distributor, I guess. The actual importer of the panels is in Caborca? I can't say it. Caborca.
Why Caborca?
Caborca. The actual importer is in Caborca. And they ship them from there to the Hermosillo distributor. Actually, my panels and the inverter was drop shipped straight to me.
What's in Caborca that would?
I don't know.
Okay. Yeah. A barn.
Caborca is on the route up to Douglas, right?
Yes.
That's the route. That's the drug route.
To check those panels.
So solar panels are popular with the cartel? Is it?
They're so ecologically conscious.
Grow lights, those grow lights get expensive.
Right.
Maybe Jim is supporting the cartel.
No, they're
You-
listening to
he probably is by way of being American.
Yeah.
Well, you can tell that we've drifted off into a topic that I don't have a lot of knowledge in because I've been so quiet throughout most of this. I did want to mention before we get out of here, did you guys see that they've shot down this internet privacy?
Yep.
They were
Good.
gonna put together.
Yeah,
it-
good.
Why is that good?
Frankly, they don't need to know what I tell my kids.
No, it's
Well,
not.
No, it's the opposite.
It's the
opposite.
opposite.
That's the thing that's happened.
Yeah.
They were able to successfully make the argument that you are hurting competition with your internet provider by not allowing them to sell your personal information to third-party companies.
I didn't know we could bring this up today.
Why, you got good information on
Well,
this?
I mean, there was a rule that was passed a few years ago, and now
Yep.
it's overturned, because you gotta break all these regulatory rules, so this is what you get when you start breaking those rules.
Yeah.
Look for Samsung's be turned back on again. Coming up.
The big difference is the flashing ad that comes up saying you're now being watched by Big Brother. Because we have to disclose that.
You just earned.
So I know I've mentioned here before that in the '80s there were 2,000 cable companies in the United States, and now there's about 5. And if you look at the players on that list of people who had a change, list of companies that had changed, those are basically the 5 I'm talking about.
This is the craziness of
It
this.
is insane.
That what
insane.
their argument is that Facebook is able to collect personal data, Yahoo is able to collect personal data, Microsoft's able to, and we can't compete with those. Netflix, how are we supposed to compete with those when what we're talking about is the internet?
Now they can sell it.
Yeah, well, we're talking about internet being provided by the providers, right?
As one comedian said, do you mean I can check every politician in the country and just buy their information from Comcast?
Yeah.
If they're on Comcast,
Maybe,
apparently you
maybe
can.
so. Well, they're gonna get one of those.
Because that is really the distinction that has to be made here, is that you opt in to be part of Facebook. But when you're in an internet area, I mean, like, did you choose to be Telmex, or was that your only option?
It's the only option.
It's your only option,
Basically.
right?
Yeah.
And if you have another option, maybe it's the cable company, so you're doing...
But the same thing in the United States, the cable companies cannot be kicked out. There's federal rules from about the 1970s on this. You have to have like a team of lawyers to get them out of your town.
So this is utility. I mean, from my perspective, utility companies asking for the same rights as service providers, in terms of like Facebook and Yahoo and these things that you decide to be part of, is a different deal. And what this is saying is, no, it's not. It's the same. You chose to be part of Comcast. So we should be allowed to use your information however we want, including selling it to a third party to make money off of it.
Well, I think there's also a fundamental difference that Google and Facebook, no matter how many beacons and trackers they use, only get an incomplete portrait of your browser.
Right.
But your ISP,
Gets
who is then your wireless
everything.
provider, gets an absolutely...
They get everything.
Right.
It's
So
their
that's
hose you're
fundamentally-
going
that's
through.
fundamentally different too.
Yeah. No, it's a very depressing ruling that has happened, because it's
Why? You're in Mexico.
well, it's obviously good point. We don't get to make those decisions here. They just tell us how it's going to be. But this is the decision that has been made by people that obviously either are invested in being able to sell your information, or can't possibly understand the problem that they're. I mean, those are the two camps, right? And they're both voting the same thing. They got no idea what they're voting on, or they know exactly what they're voting on because they're making money off of it swinging this way.
How about with a
And
VPN?
how much they paid to get their vote.
Right.
Now, if you're using a VPN, your ISP only knows basically about your VPN provider.
Both of
No, you're absolutely right. This will
So
spark a
therefore-
whole industry of VPNs for just common people,
Right.
because they don't want their information being sold by their cable provider.
Now, they could sell what the VPN provider is doing as a conglomerate of many people, which might be useful information, but it doesn't seem like it'd track back to you.
Yeah, maybe
And that, to me, that might be
maybe
more
those
useful.
metrics have value. I've got 1,000 users using VPNs because they don't want me to sell their information.
No, I was thinking that from this VPN website, we're seeing so much traffic from Amazon versus some.
Oh, you're right,
browsing
yeah.
Might be very valuable to certain people.
Well, you know what's without a doubt, that VPN provider, their internet service provider, their next jump is probably going to sell their information, right? Because
That's what I'm thinking.
It's what it's been opened up to, right?
I wonder how many regulators they're gonna lay off that were enforcing the old rule.
Yeah, they're not creating jobs, are they? With this administration.
I was kind of hoping maybe if you didn't have to pay enforcement for the old rule, that might be a side benefit, but.
Well, the old rule didn't take effect
They
yet.
never let
That
anybody
was
off.
the other thing is that
They never
the
let
old
anybody
rule
off.
had not
Hadn't
yet
taken
taken into
effect.
effect. They were still
so
they're
they
just
hadn't hired
they're
people
just
yet.
done arguing about it.
It was
now.
going
They have
active
passed
sometime
rules
this
and
year.
they-
Right.
We have to pay for somebody to enforce them, and they never look at it that way.
Well, they're gonna move them to a different job.
Yeah, I think that's what,
Retrain.
that's what bothers me.
Retraining.
Don't pass a rule
I
you
think
don't
this
wanna pay
group
for.
is just degenerated.
Down to water, solar, and politics.
Yeah.
That's okay. We need some of
You
that
wanna
in San
talk about
Carlos.
God?
What's that?
Anybody want to talk about God?
No, I want people to come back next week.
Quite a diverse group here.
I do know that with healthcare, if all the politicians had to get the
And
same
we're off.
healthcare as we had, it would get solved in a minute. So
He was
That's
right.
right.
we need to equalize. We need to have,
Yeah,
like
they
the
didn't
FCC, those people, they ought to be able to use the same thing that we use. And if
Oh,
that's
they
the
don't
case,
want to.
huh?
They don't want to.
They don't have to?
They don't want to.
They don't want to, of
No.
course not. It's the same way with healthcare.
That's right.
I'll come up with a computer question. If I want to
We're
get
in on a
information
computer
from my
question.
PC,
Yeah.
and I really want to watch it on my TV, but I got a Roku in between, is it, what are the pros and cons of broadcasting it to the Roku versus broadcasting direct to the smart TV? Anything?
Yeah, I guess it's just implementation. Is the Roku out of beta as far as that goes? I haven't played with that. Have anybody played with that where you can broadcast your Roku device from your computer? That was Maggie and I had been talking about trying to get Kodi on the Roku. I thought you could install an app, but you can't. There's a lot of discussion about it, but there isn't a Roku app for Kodi. What people are doing is that they are running Kodi on a computer or like an Android TV, and then they're casting it over to the Roku as screen sharing.
Casting to the Roku.
To the Roku, because the Roku after, I think Roku 2, I think it's Roku 2. I know the 3 and the 4 definitely do it. They have a streamer built inside it so that you can send your computer screen to the Roku. And so you can run Kodi on your computer and
So-
have it go over to the Roku.
Didn't you send me an email saying that you couldn't do that?
I said that you couldn't load an application on
On the
Kodi.
Roku, but you can do, okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I couldn't load a Kodi application on the Roku. But what you can do is you can do the screen sharing. You can use that. And so many of these smart TVs have that built into it already. I was surprised by my experience with my Windows 10 computer. I turned it on. I started messing around with some stuff in the control panels. All of a sudden, I've turned on screen sharing. Like, it was just so easy. All of a sudden, I'm looking at the screen of my computer on the screen of my TV. I didn't install anything on my computer. I didn't install anything on my computer or on my TV. But both devices, they share the same standard for that wireless screen sharing. So I think it would just be implementation that would matter. Is the Roku as a streamer, as a place to stream to, does it compete with what the smart TV provides? Is it as fast? Does it crash? Those are the kinds of things that would make that decision for you. I couldn't definitively say is one better than the other. I would just say whichever one works best is the one you're going to use.
You haven't seen any write-up on
Which one's
the
older?
things like which ones crash more.
Well, you see, and I don't think it's. I think what you get it narrowed down to is a model versus model, and so today's Samsung may not crash as bad as last year's Samsung, right? The Roku 4 may be much more stable than the Roku 3. I think when you're making a decision between the two, you have to have those specific components. It's going to be a Samsung 6L7 versus a Roku 3 with. Yeah, you're going to be doing those kinds of comparisons.
Also, you'd want to be on 5 gig network if you can, because it's going to stream better. So that makes my TV won't see 5 gig, but my Roku will.
That's a very good point I hadn't even considered. If it is interference, Wi-Fi interference, 5 gig has a lot. The 5G has a lot less interference. It's not interfered by, well, theoretically, it's not interfered by cell phones and landlines and stuff like that. And so if you're having problems, like you said, your TV doesn't see the 5G,
Right.
but the Roku does. Well, if interference is the problem, Roku's the solution. Yeah.
Which Roku has 5G? Which Roku has 5G?
3.
3?
I have an ancient Roku. Recently, I've been using that Android TV I bought. You know, I can't buy that on Amazon in the United States.
What?
The Beekil M. I brought it in and showed it to you guys. That M9C Max Android TV. You search on Amazon Mexico, and there's a whole slew of devices competing against itself. As far as the Android versions, how much memory it has, a whole slew of them from that manufacturer, all available for easy purchase through Amazon Mexico. You go to Amazon US, there's nothing. There's
I'm just curious
one
who
device.
this man is and why he's taking pictures of us.
This is Richard.
Oh, you know Richard.
I know Richard.
Okay.
He's had this plan to come in and get us some pictures
Okay.
of the computer club, and he's
Thank
you.
chosen today to do it.
Post office.
I did not realize he was going to show up today, or I would have given you a heads up.
Okay. I feel
CIA know it.
It's appreciated.
He's waiting for a bigger crowd.
That's right. Guy,
Did you say skeet?
skeet shoot.
No, my,
Well,
my
Scott,
thing was
Dick
trap.
came and he's a real computer guru. And I'm sure that he has a question or two.
Dick, you got something for us before
I
we...
wish I could belong to a club like this in the States, but
Yeah, he was fabulous.
this is really a great club.
Well, Dick,
Very impressed. I'm not only impressed with you, but I'm impressed with your participants. A lot of intelligent people here.
yeah, well, we always have a lot of fun.
Well, the intelligence varies.
Yeah, per person, per day, per month.
Per minute.
My intelligence varies depending on what day it is.
It's been a big help
Yeah.
to people like me.
Oh, I
It
can
really
see.
has.
I mean, this is wonderful.
Well, just to sign off here, because we should, we're about 13 minutes over. This is my last month before I head to Alaska. So I will be leaving at the end of this month. The beginning of next month, I will be out of here and be back in the end of September. So we'll probably start doing this again in October, just to let people know what's going on. Dick, we do this, we stream this online, and we save it, and I put it out as a podcast. So you're welcome to join us in
I
that
sure will.
fashion
I
anytime
will.
you'd like.
Yeah.
My name's Scott Stimson with International Computer Solutions, and this is the San Carlos Computer Club. And if you like it, you should check out scclub.org. That's where I post the podcasts. I post up links for things we talk about in the club here. It's a good resource for any of this information.
And that stands for San Carlos Computer Club.
That's right, scclub.org. That's us. And if you're in San Carlos with computer problems, call my business. 226-0209. It's me and my sister-in-law and my wife. It's family business, and we'll try and sort out whatever issues you got.
Thank you.
And if you're not, he'll connect remotely.
That's right.
Fix it.
I actually will, and I will from Alaska too. If there's anybody having problems, Gary, I'll help you with that. I will do that.
Dead in the water.
It's nice
Good
to say.
get back. That was nice meeting you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Is there any very